Right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Jolynn Ledgerwood, who is in Frisco, Texas. How are you doing, Jolynn?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks, John, for having me.
Absolutely. And you've over 25 years of experience in learning and development. Your experience spans hospitality, consumer goods, and many others. You've worked with several large companies, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, Toyota. And while you enjoyed all your work there doing team building and all of that, when you found Lego Serious Play, this was what you found to be the thing that you could really use to help, help with teams, team building, sales, all of that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is the Lego Serious Play. So first of all, just like myself, I'm sure most of the audience are going, Lego?
What?
Lego
Yeah,
Serious Play? What's all that about?
exactly. I hear that often. And just to put it in scale, there's
Mhm.
over 15,000 practitioners globally, and only
Right.
100 of those are in the United States.
All
So
right.
it's an amazing concept where we use Lego bricks, and we anybody can use Lego bricks at work, but the methodology that we use and the specific kits that have been designed for this process really allow the users to build ideas and metaphors, and we kind of push the envelope on certain builds here and there, but it can be used for strategic sessions. It can be used for team building, siloed organizations that want to understand more about their counterparts and the rest of the business, and just kind of breaking through when you don't really know the answer to
Right.
a potential problem at the office. You break out the bricks and
Yeah,
spend some
so
time.
walk me through, like, when you have a scenario or something that you're looking to solve. Walk me through that process. What does it look like? Is everybody just playing with Lego?
Yes, and we call it hard play because it's still work related.
Yeah.
I'll have a meeting with the person that's requesting the service. I'll have a meeting with them and we'll sit and talk. And as they're telling me what they're dealing with or what the program looks like, what they're trying to change, I'm building with my set of Lego bricks as they discuss. And so we have a tangible model that they can say, well, this should look like this, or that should be great. I make those changes and then I draw up a plan of what the workshop is going to entail. It's a 4-step process. Um, Number one, I pose a question.
Hmm.
Number two, everyone builds. If you're in the room, you're building. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or the admin assistant or the caterer. Everyone's building if they're in the room. Then we are at tables, and each person around the table shares their model. So they talk about what it looks like to them, what it means, what details they have to add to it. And then at the end, once everyone has shared, you go back and ask reflective questions.
Mm.
So, just for example, I'll show you really quick. I
Yeah.
have a minifigure that's on a yellow brick with
Yeah.
one leg up, and was used in my original when I was trained
Uh-huh.
to be a facilitator. And I went around and I said, "This is my ideal CEO. He's on a yellow brick, meaning I want there to be prosperous futures and la la
Mhm.
la." And when we went to the reflection stage, the trainer said, "I noticed that that there's one leg up on your minifigure. What does that mean?" And I thought, I have no idea. I guess that means that I want him to be moving forward
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
always looking at new opportunities. So a lot of times when we build some more statistics for you, we open up 80% more of our brain power when we use our hands, which is
Mm.
huge, right? And when we build, our subconscious comes through in ways that either we don't know how to speak to those
Right.
things, or we don't feel comfortable speaking to those things. And so when you build, everybody is right in their build. So if I build a tower,
Yeah.
it's to me that's a tower, and you build a tower and they look completely different, but they're both towers. So everybody's right.
Mhm.
And it opens up the dialogue where people can say, "Oh, I had no idea you thought that," or, "That's a great idea. We should dive in deeper to talk about that a little bit more." So the workshops can take on different paths than what we intend, but the leader is always engaged and the leader is always watching to see, and I'll offer suggestions if we need to make a pivot and turn or whatever that looks like to them. But it ends up being a really tangible activity for people that normally just, "Hey, everybody, let's come to the conference room and let's
Yeah, I do.
brainstorm." And imagine that. But when you come into the room, there's individual Lego sets that are the same at every person's seats. And they kind of look like, wait, I thought we had, it is a strategic session.
Mhm.
Let's talk and build, and let's look through some of those things that might be in the back of your brain that you don't know how to, you know, talk about, and you don't know how to approach the subject with your teammates or whatever.
So, so then, like you said, I mean, often we just go to conference room, a meeting
Yeah.
room, we have somebody there and they're writing up, showing slides, and maybe we're doing a few verbal exercise, whatever, but
Yeah.
half the room is tuned out. The other half, there's one person highly attentive at the front, always, uh, but you're saying with this that if you're in by engaging in physical activity, by engaging your brain with the Lego, building whatever you're building, that gets a much greater level of engagement, shall we say, engagement.
It does, and it engages the prefrontal cortex.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, when you're just sitting in a room and you're told to brainstorm and what ideas do we, people, not everybody's brains work that way. And
Right.
so, by bringing in that creative piece, and I'll be honest, either it's Lego or Play-Doh or some other
Sure.
element of creativity, really allows people to build ideas. And again, when you're asked questions about your build after it's done, you're kind of challenged, like, oh, I didn't, sometimes a green brick is a green brick. Sometimes
Mhm.
a green brick can be a turtle or being economically friendly, or,
Right.
the
So,
marketing team
give
or
me give
whatever.
me give me an example of a like a question that a
Yeah.
business would be struggling with, and
So, if there's a new product rollouts,
right.
maybe we have ideas of maybe what may be impediments, but
Mhm.
if the rollout doesn't go as successfully as we thought it would at the beginning, let's sit down and talk about what are some impediments that we're seeing from our customers that
Mhm.
maybe we didn't think about before, and we build those impediments, and then we can also build how to
Yeah.
overcome those impediments.
So you would literally build, you would say, okay, let's see an impediment from like a customer, maybe, oh, they're overwhelmed, right? There's,
Yes.
we're releasing too much features and now we're releasing another one.
Right.
That could be an impediment. So I would build something that reflected overwhelm.
Yes, yes, and, maybe that's, and the kits that we use are pretty expansive, so
Mhm.
maybe that's, 25 different minifigures working on one little brick, or there's
Right.
too many people working on this one thing and it's just overwhelming, or
Mhm.
there's this small little problem and nobody's paying attention to it because everyone's focused on this other
Right.
perceived issue. So it allows them to build and to show, what their thoughts are, and, what it looks like. And when you put it in a tangible model, and granted, it may not look like
Sure.
something to some people, it may just be, different bricks, but the person who built it has specific meaning for all those bricks. When you build it and can look at it, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about it in that perspective. And then you can add on to builds, you can modify the builds. We
Mhm.
can do what we call share models, which brings other people's builds together,
Mm.
and they have to kind of negotiate on, this
Yeah.
is really important to me, this one isn't. So which one do we want to use and which one do we want to focus on for the group activity? Yeah. It's
And so that's a great example that you just raised there, because that is, we can all sit in rooms and come up with great ideas and stuff and whatever, but oftentimes the problems come when it's not just one idea, it's a combination of different ideas, and then other people have different ideas of how things should be doing. When you bring all that together and try to have one overarching strategy, um, that's a difficult process.
yeah.
This actually makes it kind of it's a tangible thing where you're
Yes.
negotiating over the build. So
Right.
you're doing that pre-work.
Absolutely, yeah, and we make sure when the day is over, or 2 days, whatever, the building time, once the project is over, you don't keep the bricks that you built, because we don't want you to feel stuck in that
Yeah.
model. We want you to remember what you did and then, modify and change as you move forward. And and remember that you can always come back with Lego bricks and build again, and build new or build different this time. And sometimes it's just fun for team building. It's a
Yeah.
great way to, if
I was gonna say,
with
yeah.
all the layoffs going off right now, instead of cutting all the L&D or the, team building stuff because we've had such big layoffs, it's a great opportunity to bring that in and say,
Yeah.
you guys are important to us. We want you to show us what the future of this group looks like, or what future work do y'all have. Seeing those builds created brings life to projects, when some people
Mhm.
may feel like, am I going to get laid off next? How safe am I in my job?
Yeah.
To invest that time and energy with those team members is important.
And yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the other thing too is, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems like something where it appeals to all different personality types, because oftentimes when you have like brainstorming or you have a set, let's face it, it's the
Oh,
loudmouths like me who probably dominate, the people who are always
yeah,
got too much to say for themselves. As my mother used to say,
yeah,
your mouth will get you into trouble, young man. But but you know what I mean? But people
yeah.
like me, we tend to dominate these things, and I have to exhibit self-control sometimes and like tell myself to shut up. But it
And
seems like in a situation like this, it appeals to all different personality types.
it does, and if somebody walks in and says, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this, I'm not
Mhm.
creative,"
Yeah.
they're the ones that are 2 builds in, building these elaborate, detailed things, right? I was the same kid as you, John. They
Mhm.
took my chair away in 4th grade because I could talk too much, and I was like, "That's not gonna stop me from talking," so
Yeah.
but in environments like that, my brain is not very strategic. So when we're
Mhm.
talking about what we can do, I am quiet because I don't have confidence. But yet, if you asked me to build, what does your position look like
Mhm.
within the next year? Or what value do you add to the organization? That's easy for me to build. I have no problem with that whatsoever. You'll see people that become almost competitive with how they build and what they build. The
Okay.
original build that we normally do is build a tower, and leave it at that. You have 2 minutes to build and then we'll discuss. And the number of people that grab bricks and just start building it as fast as they can, there's unspoken scripts that they have in their own mind that they heard that I didn't really say. And those are important to
Mm.
talk about. We call them limiting beliefs. So I didn't
Mm.
say build it the tallest. I didn't say you have to use all the bricks. I didn't have to say it's got to be sturdy. So there's people that will build, with the same color of bricks on either side. They want it to be aesthetically pleasing. And then there's other people that just throw it up as tall and fast as they can. And there's this understanding that there's more to it than just that. So, yeah.
So in that example that you just gave there, then, so you're uncovering how people interpret
Mhm.
directions, interpret what
Yeah.
they hear.
Mhm.
So and that's an interesting exercise in itself. Like if I build a really big tower really fast, and then the person beside me builds a small tower, but it's quite intricate, and the other
Yeah.
person over here is just throwing something quick together, and it's like
Sure.
none of us is wrong, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
each of us heard maybe interpreted differently what was expected.
Yeah. And that's the reason why we start with that is, for one, get your hands on the bricks and just start
Mhm.
building. Don't overthink it, just build a tower. And two, you're right. We all are correct in the way that we built our tower. So they're all different and they all have different attributes, but they're still right because my tower was my tower. That's how I
Mhm.
perceived build a tower. And so we use that to kind of launch into some of the more detailed questions of, what do you add to the
Mhm.
contribution of the group, or what does your job look like to whatever the motive or the
Right.
agenda may be. But it really does allow people to understand that. So as we move forward, we're going to have very different builds. And my build is going to be just as right as your build is going to be. And we rely on each other to speak to our builds, what we build and how and why. And then to go back and ask questions. That's when you get into a little bit deeper understanding of, my Lego figure has a leg up because I want them to be forward motion,
Mhm.
or I
Mhm.
use Lego bricks at the bottom, yellow bricks at the bottom to show like a golden brick road, or whatever that looks
Mhm.
like to you. And we use some of the Duplos, which are the larger Legos with the
Alright.
animals and the fencing and all kinds of stuff to really get detailed builds into what you want and how you perceive the answer to the question that's being asked.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And tell me, when people bring the bills together, when you're building the bills together, what's uh, does that by the nature of the way you're doing this, does that help people who maybe usually be a little less confident in their ideas, be a little bit more like verbal and confident when they're talking about why their piece should be in here or there?
It is, and we start that at the beginning with the build the tower, and that everybody's
Mhm.
right. So
Mhm.
if my build is a little bit smaller, but maybe more detailed, when we collectively bring those builds together, I tell everybody, make sure the central part of your build is incorporated in that team build.
Mhm.
And then when we go around, and that's a whole room activity where somebody from the group will stand up and explain the build, et cetera, where you can ask everybody around the table, which piece is yours and which piece is yours, and to verify that the team honored everybody around their table to contribute to something together. And another note to that is there's perspective. So
Yeah.
just looking at a build from this direction, I see one thing. If I turn it and look at it from a different direction, what do I see that's different? Are there leaders that are participating that I can't see anymore because of, this big black barrier or whatever? But to have perspective when you turn the models and look at them from different viewpoints is pretty impressive to see what comes of that. So if I'm looking at it from this perspective, I don't see X, Y, and Z people, what does that mean to our customer? Or what does that mean to the marketing team? And kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And what is it like when you get, when you, I mean, does it ever have like good creative conflict where you have people like, no, that, you're saying, why does the tower have to be so big? Why can't it be, smaller, but more detailed, or why can't it be wider or whatever? I mean, but those are really important because they show up that when you're talking about perspectives, they show up different perspectives in the business.
Right. And there's nobody that really challenges you or quite like you didn't do it this way. It's more of help me understand why you built it the way you did. Help me
Right.
understand, your viewpoint when you built it this way. I see that as different, and this is my perspective, but it's interesting to see your perspective. So there's more of an honoring of each other's thoughts when you have a physical build. Because I'm not saying, John, your build did this or that. I'm
Yeah.
saying, I notice on your build that there's an issue, or that, not that there's an issue, but I noticed on your build that you didn't use this or that. And I'm just curious, what were you thinking, et cetera.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So, as we were saying, it's like, how often do you get people who think, "What am I doing? I'm going to play Lego in the meeting room." I mean, that kind of thing. And tell me about some of those people and their feedback after they do a session.
So they're the ones that come in. I'd say they're the ones, that's clearly a label, but
Yeah.
many people will come in and say, I'm not creative. Why
Mhm.
are we doing this? And I'll say, if you'll just trust the process, participate, give me at least the first 2 builds, and then we'll reassess. If you don't feel like it's working for you, then we'll figure out what to do from here. And by the second build, they're deep in the builds. They're making sure that they have the right pieces that they want. They're the first ones to jump up and go to the boxes to grab more pieces to build it bigger. And I can honestly say that I've never had somebody say that was the biggest waste of time. Like,
Right.
everybody walks away with, this was so fun. We had a great time. I understand my teammates better. I understand, their viewpoints on what they're doing better. And so yeah, you're going to have, the naysayers and anything that you want to
Sure.
do. But if you encourage them to have an open mind and say, if you're in the room, you're building, there's nobody that just gets to
Yeah.
sit back and watch, right? We're all in this together. The coach, the players, everybody's involved. And I think that speaks volumes when you have your leader building right,
Yes.
right along with you. Yeah.
And how often after you leave, after you do an engagement, how often do you find that they continue to play with Lego after you've gone?
All the time. I always leave them with a kit. It's a smaller kit, but again, they're very specifically selected Legos
Yeah.
to be in this bag. And I leave them with that. And I say, if you're working and you get stuck one day, build. Or
Mhm.
if you feel like you've got a block on what you can contribute, or to some type of impediments hit you that you didn't expect, build. If you're having a bad day and just need a break, build, because that creativity really does unlock a lot of brain power. And when you open that portal up, if you will, it allows a lot of those subconscious ideas to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how many of them are, how often do you find they're stopping off at Lego on the way home and buying big kits for themselves?
Yeah, the number one thing is, wait, we're not going to drop any of these on the floor. I don't want to step on any Legos. I'm like, nope, that doesn't happen. This is
Yeah.
all about, we leave it on the table. And but it's fun. Like I said, it's Lego Series Play is great. I love it. I'm an advocate. I, advertise
Yeah.
as much as I can, but it's any creativity in your work. If it's, I had a sales meeting a couple years ago where I was the sales trainer. I taught the
Mhm.
sales guys how to sell. And of course, they had the sales kickoff in a large conference space with 12 different tables of 10 people at each table. And sales guys and gals were just like fidgeting nonstop. They were on
Sure.
their phones, they were walking around, the whole thing. And so that night I stopped and got Play-Doh and put enough at each table, the little small cans, but
Mhm.
enough on each table for everybody to have their own. And they were like, "What's this for?" I was like, "Just, use it if you need it." And by the second speaker of the day, they each had built these intricate models of like stacks of, round balls, like this pyramid or
Yeah.
like this motorcycle. And I was just floored. But then I also noticed they were more engaged. They
Right.
listened to the content that stuck longer in their brains. We didn't have to kind of retrain a month or so later. And it's allowing those people that don't like to sit in a conference room and think or sit and be still. It allows them the opportunity to use their hands to build something fun and creative. And a lot of people, like to show off their creativity
Yeah.
side when they don't get to do that at work. So it's
Yeah,
cool.
and it's
Yeah.
nice bonding and stuff like that as well,
Yes.
and it obviously it keeps people off of, having their phone under the table kind of.
Yeah, we do encourage no phones at the tables while we're building. And we take pictures so that there's that,
Mhm.
keepsake when we're done. There's pictures that we can send to the teams to look at. And I do a recap to send back to the leader and say, these are the things that we covered. And these are some ideas for moving forward. And so, yeah.
There you go. Well, it's a
Uh-huh.
very different, I love it, Jolene. It's a very
Yeah.
different, as you said, it's a very different experience for anybody who's had kids and has trodden on Lego in the middle of the
Yeah.
night.
So when was
Is
the
that
last time you played with Lego, John?
oh, probably when my son is gonna be 21 next week, so
Yes.
probably when he was, I don't know, 6, 7, something
Right,
like that.
right. I'll have to
Yeah.
send you a small kit.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where that one where everybody was into Lego for a while. Like he was
Mhm.
only into it because his friends were,
Yeah.
and so yeah, you go to the shopping center, you buy. He's like, "Oh yeah, this one looks fantastic," and it's like some intricate thing, and off he pops to bed, and I'm up all night building this stupid thing, and
Uh-huh.
he comes down in the morning and goes, "Oh, this is great," plays with it once, and that's it, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay."
This is fabulous. Yeah. And just a small little tidbit of information. The Legos that were built originally, so almost 100 years ago,
Yeah.
still fit with the bricks that they build today. So
Wow.
no
So the
matter,
Legos I would have played with when I was a
yep,
kid
I
are the
know.
wow.
Me too. Yep. They still work. Yep.
Ah, there
It's
you
pretty
go.
impressive.
Fantastic. Well, listen,
Yeah.
Jolene, this has been phenomenal. All of
Thanks.
Jolene's information will be below this video. But before you go, please do remind people about what you do.
Sure. You can reach me. My company website is elevateyourtalent.co. My name is Jolynn Ledgerwood. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm connected to John, or you can put in my information. My email is jolynn@elevateyourtalent.co. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have any ideas on how Lego Serious Play could work for your business, I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Jolene. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.